Hi, everyone. Thankfully, my work is submitted on that case I was telling you about. So hopefully, we'll hear from the court in a few weeks. It's going to take a while, I think. And anyway, so this is another quiz in our series, Who Said This? Jesus, Yahweh with an asterisk, or Paul. It's a fun way to learn. And if you get 7 points in the quiz of 10 questions, that will be enough to pass to the 5th grade. We will have a bonus question that allows you to get a point to toward the 10 in case you're having a tight time getting in here. So we're going to give a little option there. And the asterisk stands for this. Yahweh is the answer, even if it's a psalmist or the prophets are speaking, and of course for the law and prophets. And Yahweh can also be the answer when Moses is just giving an explanation. So everything basically to do with the law, prophets, and writings that you can recognize, we're going to call that Yahweh, even though there's some diversity within that. Now, we're going to have a theme today of who are the righteous. So some of these quotes, a lot of these quotes are going to always have something to do about who are the righteous and what happens to the righteous. Okay, the first question will be, who said this? Thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God. So take a moment to write it down. Yahweh, Paul, or Jesus, Y, P, or J might be a way of doing it. Okay, so here's the answer. Okay, so the answer is Yahweh. Moses is basically summarizing the law. And this is in Deuteronomy 18, verse 13. And basically, what is God trying to say? Aim high, not low, not mediocre, aim high, right? Be perfect. All right, now who said this? Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. Is this Yahweh? Is this Paul? Or is this Jesus? So take a moment to write it down, make a note of it, and I'll reveal the answer next. And the answer is Jesus in Matthew 5, verse 48 in the King James Version. Again, Jesus is telling you to aim high. And by the way, would God ever give you a command that you cannot do? No. So he's telling you this is what you can do. You can be perfect. How do you become perfect? That's the interesting question. Okay, so here's question 3. Who said this? The righteous shall inherit the land and dwell therein forever. So is it Yahweh? Is it Jesus? Or is it Paul? The righteous shall inherit the land and dwell therein forever. Okay, so the answer is the psalmist, and we accept the answer Yahweh to cover the psalmist. And this is Psalm 37, verse 29. All right, now who said this? As it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is none that understands. There is none that seeks after God. They are all gone out of the way. They are together become unprofitable. There is none that does good, no, not one. Do you know who that is? Is it Jesus who said this? Is it Paul who said this? Is Yahweh saying this? Let's take a moment and write it down, your notes, and we'll see what the answer is in a second. Okay, so the answer is Paul in Romans 3, verses 10 to 12 in the KJV. Paul is quoting out of context, we'll show you, from Psalm 14, 1 and 3. And the purple in the bottom there in verse 1 is one of the most famous verses that is used, that if you ever try to tell people that God does expect righteousness, that in the 10 Commandments, God explains how to get grace, how to get mercy. It's right after the first commandment. God, Yahweh says, I extend mercy to those who love me and obey my commandments. Jesus quotes that in Matthew 19 when he's asked, how do I have eternal life? And Jesus answers, obey the commandments. And the person says, which one? And he says, well, do not lie, do not give false witness, do not commit adultery, and all that. Starts reading the 10 Commandments, and the man says, I've done all that. So he interrupts Jesus. So that's clearly what Jesus was saying, is that is the path. And he's quoting exactly what is in Exodus 20, verse 6. So, but here we have, that's not even a possibility. It's none are righteous. That's what it's meant in context when Paul says it, but not in the original Psalm. So we're going to actually ask questions about Psalm 14 in the next slides, which will help educate us as we go, whether what I just said is true or not true. So let's take a look. Okay, so here is question 5. Psalm 14:3 says, they, now focus on that word they, are all gone aside. They're all together become filthy. There is none that does good, no, not one. So this is the passage that Paul was quoting. So the question here that you have to answer, you've got two choices, A and B. Who are they in this sentence? So if you were to read the entire psalm, what would you conclude? Is it A, all humans at all moments are the they? So all humans have all gone aside. They're all together become filthy. There's none that do good, no, not one. And that would be true for all time. Is it A? B, is it the fools who say there is no God, who are corrupt and do abominable works, who eat up my people, but God is in the generation of the righteous? So which of these two things do you think is the context? Is it all humans are for all time at every moment? No, there's no one who does good. Everybody's completely unrighteous. No such thing as a righteous person. That's A. Or B, is it a reference to fools who say there is no God and so on and so forth? So write down which one you think it is, A or B, and then I'll reveal the answer in a second. Okay. Okay, so small letter B is correct, and you'll find the answer supported in Psalm 14, verse 1, 4, and 5. And I want to point out something. Notice it does not say there are none righteous. It says there's no one who does good. So even if it were universal, the issue about being good may be, Jesus even says, very different from being a righteous person. They're not synonymous, unlike what we think they are. They're definitely different. And you'll see why when we get to that later. Okay, so who said this? And these who do not do charity to the poor followers of Yeshua shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous who do such charity shall go into life eternal. Now, who said that? Was it Yahweh? Was it Paul? Or was it Jesus? Okay, so the answer is Jesus in Matthew 25, verse 46, the King James Version. To see the entire parable of the sheep and the goats, go to read from verses 31 to 46. Okay, next question is number 7. Who said this? Blessed are they that do his commandments. And my question there will be to you. Think about it. Does that mean be righteous when we're studying all these other verses? That they may, the word is shall actually in Greek, have right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city. So who said that blessed or happy are they that do his commandments, that they may and or shall is more correct, have the right to the tree of life and may enter into through the gates into the city of Jerusalem. So who said that? Was that Paul? That he said that if you obey the commandments, that you shall have the right to the tree of life and may enter into the kingdom. Did Paul say that? Did Jesus say, blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city? Or it's obviously not Yahweh directly unless he's speaking in the book of Revelation. I think we know this is the book of Revelation. Who's speaking here? Is Paul in the book of Revelation? Well, let's take a look at the answer. Okay, so the answer is Jesus. Most people say it's Jesus, or the angel of Yahweh. In this example, it was the angel was speaking through much of the book of Revelation. A lot of people have to know that Jesus was speaking through the angel in the beginning, and then the angel's also separately talking to John in the opening part of Revelation 22. But many people think the voice switched to Jesus by verse 14. So regardless, it's not Paul. So it's Jesus or the angel of Yahweh. Okay, next question. Okay, question 8. Who said this? Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall you diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you. Okay, is this a verse from Paul? Did Jesus say, you shall not add to the word which I command you, neither shall you diminish aught from it? Or was it Yahweh? Take a moment to write down your notes, and then I'll provide you the answer next. Okay, so the answer is Yahweh, Deuteronomy 4, verse 2 in the King James Version. All right, so we'll go to the next question. Oh, question number 9. Who said this? Why call thou me good? None is good save one, that is God. Okay, so did Paul say this? Did Jesus say this? Or did Yahweh say this? I think you can pretty much cross off Yahweh. So the answer is Okay, well, the answer is Jesus said this in Matthew 19:17b. So I got rid of part A, which is, and Jesus said, that would have given the answer away. Luke says the same thing in 18, verse 19. And also there was a parallel in Mark. So, yeah. And the reason why I included this is there's maybe a difference between the word righteous, a righteous man, and a good person or a good man. And Jesus is saying that humans, including himself, cannot say they're good, because that's only a term you can use in relation to God. So you can have a good heart. In the Jesus' own parable of the sower, Jesus said that man had a good and noble heart. That's not the same as being good. Intrinsically good is something that only God can be. So that's important to maybe say that uh, what righteousness is doesn't mean that you're saying you're a good person. It means that you're following God's direction in your life. That's all. It doesn't try to say you're better or worse than somebody else. It's just simply a righteous person is following God's direction in their life. They repented of their sins. They're on the path and course to eternal life, and that's it. So I think that's why I'm including that in here, to show us this word good is different and distinct from the word righteous. Okay, now question 10 is going to be sort of a historical question. And if you have seen the video on my channel about this passage of Matthew, then you'll have the heads up of what's the answer here. In pre-250 AD, that's before 250 AD, Matthew 19:17 was quoted by Christians to say, so instead of the way it reads in the Bibles now, it said, "None is good but the one God, my Father only, who is in heaven and was the creator of all things." That's a lot more information. So what's different is everything that's in yellow with a dark black background. It didn't. Our Bibles have removed the word one before God. Our Bibles have removed my Father. That's been removed, and the word only has been removed, and so also the words "who is in heaven and was the creator of all things." So in the era of the Trinity being adopted in 381 AD, you can see why these words are offensive, because it says there's one God, my Father, not God the Son. And it even uses the word only. So there's one God, my Father only. So that's making it double clear that there's nobody else but the Father, who is God. So, but the more important thing is now you can have a Bible quiz question, because we done a whole video on this. And so you're going to have to now say, who are the sources of information that prove it came before 250 AD? So this quote is found in partial quotes from three sources. Which of the four writers listed here is not one of them? So in other words, three of these four are the source of the correction you're seeing above, but one is not. So here, I'll read the names. One is Clement of Alexandria. Two is Origen. Three is Justin Martyr. Four is Irenaeus. So which one is wrong? Which will tell you which one is right. Which of the other three are correct. So write it down. You can write the number down, and then I'm going to reveal it. I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 seconds more, and then I will change the slides. Okay, the answer is Irenaeus, who never quotes this passage. So the other three are the source. Clement actually quotes it twice, not just once, and Origen and Justin Martyr do it one time. Okay, so here's our last slide. How did you score of the 10 questions? If you did not receive 7 points, including the bonus question, please redo this test until you pass. Please go to the 5th grade test next. All right, so I look forward to you all coming back, and God bless you all. Take care. Ciao. Bye.